breakfast and then after the summer break we'll go into okay, tell you about the last day. There's another one up there now. There's a roll. Ah, there you go. Okay, so we're going to move over to a more topical subject. Here's the Tisha B'Av Shartanya. It's on page 44. In Tov Kuf Mem Teh. Okay? In Tov Kuf Mem Teh. Sif Aleph. Chayovim Lis'anos B'Tisha B'Av Yud Zayin B'Tammuz U'B'Gimel B'Tishrei Same Gedalia U'B'Yud B'Teves U'B'nei Dvorim Haroim She'iru Bohem. We have to fast on these days because of the bad things that happened on them. Let's see the MISHNA Berura Sifkot and Aleph. Chayvim L'Taneh V'hu Medivrei HaNeviim. It's in the words of the Nevi'im. Kedechtiv Bakro, it says in the Pasuk in Zechariah, Soim HaRavi'i, the Soim of the Soim on the fourth month is Tammuz. Soim HaChamishi, that's Tisha B'Av in the fifth month. Soim HaShavi'i, which is Soim Gedalia. The Soim HaSiri, that's Asar B'Tevis, which is in the 10th month. The Goyma. They're all mentioned in the Pasuk in Zechariah. Zechariah was one of the Nevi'im.
Zechariah came before these were established?
Chagai, Zechariah, and Malachi are the last three Nevi'im. They're the last three of the Trei Osar, of the 12 minor prophets. They were the last Nevi'im. They were the beginning of the second Beis HaMikdash. Right? These Tanasim were all from the Churban Bayis. Right, Bayis Rishon. And there was Golus Bovel of 70 years. Chagai, Zechariah, Malachi were the end of Golus Bovel, the beginning of the second Beis HaMikdash. Ram Chazal, Soim HaRavi'i Ze Yud Zayin B'Tammuz Shehu B'Chodesh Ravi'i Lemin HaChodoshim. If you start counting from Nisan, Tammuz is the fourth month. It's referring to Shivot B'Tammuz. Soim HaChamishi Ze Tes B'Av Tisha B'Av Shehu B'Chodesh Chamishi. It's in the fifth month. Soim HaShavi'i Ze Soim Gedalia Shehu B'Chodesh HaShavi'i. In the seventh month. Soim HaSiri Ze Asar B'Tevi Shehu B'Chodesh HaSiri. The fast of the 10th month, if you can start counting the months in order from Nisan, the 10th month is Teves. It's referring to Asar B'Tevi. On June these days, all of you so fast because of the tragedies that happened on them. He's quoting here the words of the Rambam. That the purpose of fasting is not just to remember what happened. The purpose of remembering what's happened is to stimulate us for the future. It's supposed to awaken our hearts, to make us think about doing teshuvah. Sorry? To awaken us. Yeah. It should remind us of our bad deeds, and the deeds of our fathers, which are the same as our deeds now. We're remembering their bad deeds, but we're remembering also that it says that any generation where the Beis HaMikdash wasn't rebuilt in its day, it's as if it was destroyed in that day. If we haven't been zocheh to have the Beis Hamikdash built yet, it must be that we're on a level approximately the same as so when it was the generation when it was destroyed. So we're remembering the deeds of our father, which is the same as our deeds now. Which caused them and us, these terrible tragedies. If we remember these things, we'll return to do good. As it says in the Pasuk, it should lead us to do vidu, to express the sins of our sins and the sins of our fathers. So on all these days, whenever on all these soimos, one has to put in the heart, and one has to realize this, think about this, and to think about one's deeds, to think about what one's doing, which things one's doing are perhaps incorrect, should be changed slightly, or more than slightly, and he has to do tshuva. The main point of the fast is not fasting. That's not the ikar to fast. It says in the pasuk about the people of Nineveh, Vayar Hashem es ma'aseyem, v'omu Chazal estakom v'stanisa. It says in the pasuk that Hashem saw their deeds, their sakom, the sackcloth, and the stanisam, it doesn't say in the it doesn't say estakom v'stanisam lo'inema. It doesn't say that he saw their sackcloth and the tanis. They were wearing sackcloth, they were fasting, but it doesn't say that. Elo es ma'aseyim, it says he saw their deeds. Ve'eina tanis elo hachona l'tshuva. The point of the tanis is just to prepare ourselves for tshuva. If one's fasting, then it's a good environment. It's a good way of leading us to do tshuva. Just achon, it's just a preparation to help us do tshuva. But the main purpose is the tshuva that we do. Therefore, those people that when they're fasting and they go for walks and they waste their time, they've taken the secondary and they've left the important part. They're fasting, which is that's the secondary point. The main purpose is the tshuva, and that they've ignored. However, it's not good enough just to say I'm going to do tshuva and I'm not going to fast. Because these days are fast days from Divnei Nevi'im. One has to fast. There's a chiyuv from the Nevi'im to fast. One has to fast as well. But the fast is supposed to lead us to do tshuva, to think about our deeds and to try and change them for the better. Sivkotten base. Nizmei dvarim haroim v'chula. Ki b'yud zayin b'tamuz urubai hei tzoros. On Shiva Asa b'tamuz, there are 5 tragedies happen. Hey, sorry, 5 tragedies happens on them. As it says, it's a mission in Tanis, lists out the 5 sources, and the MISHNA Berura writes in here. Nistabu haluchos, k'shiyar Moshe v'nahar. Moshe broke the luchos, he saw the Ekel Azov, and he broke the luchos. That happened on Shiva Asa b'tamuz, confessed by Torah. As it says in the Torah, it doesn't say in the Torah it was on Shiva Asa b'tamuz, but Rashi makes the cheshbon that he went up on Shavuos, 40 days later comes, and he came down 40 days later, turns out to be Shiva Asa b'tamuz. Ubutel atomid, oid melacha-creative-work rishoin, they stopped bringing the carbon tomid, and due to the siege, they didn't have any animals left. There's no carbon tomid. V'huvka ha'ir b'churban by sheni, the wall of the second Beis Hamikdash, the wall of the city of Yerushalayim was breached on Shiva Asa b'tamuz, 3 weeks before it was destroyed on Tisha B'Av. Apustumus was one of the Greek generals. He burnt the Sefer Torah on Shiva Asa b'tamuz. And a tzelem was put in the Heichal. And Avodah Zarah was put in the Heichal. The machlokes is exactly when there's a machlokes in the Shami. I think that's referring to during the first Beis Hamikdash or the second Beis Hamikdash. If it's Apustumus himself who did it during the second Beis Hamikdash, or if it's referring to an earlier time during the first Beis Hamikdash. Over Tisha B'Av also there were 5 stories, also 5 tragedies. That's 2 tragedies. Both the first and second Beis Hamikdash were both destroyed on Tisha B'Av. ובזה היום נגזר על אבינו שבמדבר שלא יכנסו לארץ. When the Bnei Yisrael were in the Midbar, that's when the Meraglim returned and they cried about going to Eretz Yisrael, and Hashem said, because you cried for no reason now, I'm going to fix a day of crying for generations, a real reason to cry. That's why the Beit HaMikdash was destroyed on that day. So this was also the day originally when they cried about going to Eretz Yisrael, and therefore there was the gzeira that they wouldn't go into Eretz Yisrael, and they had to walk around 40 years in the Midbar, and the whole Dar died and couldn't go into Eretz Yisrael. During the time of the Romans, after the Churban Bayis Rishon, there was a big city called Beitar. Had tens of thousands of Jews in it. They all fell into the hands of the Romans. And they were all killed. It was a big Torah, it was almost on the level of the Churban Beit HaMikdash. And on that day, Turnus Rufus on Tisha B'Av plowed the area of the Beit HaMikdash. So those were the 5 stories of Tisha B'Av. That's the second Beit HaMikdash, yeah. Beitar is the Romans after, yeah. But sometime after the Churban. I don't remember exactly how many years, but it's sometime years after that. V'yom Gimel B'Tishri Boi Ner HaGedali Ben Achikom. On Yom Gimel B'Tishri on Yom Gimel B'Tishri is Boi Ner HaGedali Ben Achikom Sheminuhu L'Roish L'Achar HaChurban. After the Churban Bayis, we're now going back. We're jumping sometimes between the Churban Bayis Rishon and the Churban Bayis Sheni. We're going back to the Churban Bayis Rishon after Golus Yechonia. The Golus Yechonia was the first Golus. The Beit HaMikdash was destroyed with the second Golus, Golus Tzidkiyahu, when Tzidkiyahu HaMelech was taken down taken down to Bavel. So that was the Churban Bayis. Then the Beit HaMikdash was destroyed, and Nebuchadnezzar appointed Gedalia ben Achikom to be in charge of the remaining Jews. He exiled many thousands of Jews to Bavel. The ones that were left behind, he appointed Gedalia ben Achikom to be in charge of them. He was the governor, and then he was killed by someone called Yishmael ben Nesaniah, who was jealous of the fact that Yishmael ben Nesaniah was related to the royal family. He was jealous that Gedalia was in charge, and he killed Gedalia. Sorry?
Political assassination.
Right. I think it was the first one. That was the first one. No, it wasn't the first one. Athalia killed off Kol Zera HaMamlocha. She killed off the whole royal family so that she could take her charge. Athalia was she was a daughter of Achov. Achov was the king of Israel. She was a daughter of Achov, and she was married to one of the Malcha-Yehuda, the son of Yehoshaphat. She was married to Yoram ben Yehoshaphat. Right? When Yoram died, Yoram's son Achaziah was the next king. He was killed. He was assassinated by Yehu. Oh, the assassination before that. Let's go back to that. He was killed by Yehu. And then when she saw that the king was killed, she then went and killed all the other descendants of the royal family and made herself queen. Right? Made herself queen, except for there was one child called Yoyosh who was hidden by his aunt. Who was my other aunt. He was hidden in the Beit HaMikdash, in the Kodesh Kodoshim. They hid him there for 7 years, and then they that's the Melachim, yeah. But now that reminds me, there were assassinations before that. And then before that, Yerovam ben Avot, his son was Nodov, who was king, and he was killed by Baasha. Baasha became king. Baasha was king, and he had a son, can't remember his name, Elah ben Baasha, and then he was killed by someone, and Zimri was king for exactly 7 days before he was assassinated by someone called Omri. And then Omri was king, and he was the father of Achov. He was the father of Achov, and Achov's son was was Achav's son was Yoram, and then there was another son who was king, and then they were killed by Yehu. Yehu killed both the king of Yisrael and the king of Yehuda on the same day. They were together, the king of Yehuda and the king of Yisrael on the same day. He killed them both. He was told to do it. He was told by the Novi to do it, to destroy Achav's family. He was told to destroy Achav's family. Menashe was much later. Menashe was the king of Chizkiah. He's the king of Yisrael, that's much later. Menashe is not related to Achav, no. Achav was the king of Yisrael, Menashe was the king of Yehuda. So the number of assassinations there. So not the first one. Not the first one. Right. So it says he was killed on Gimel B'Tishrei. I think there's a source that he was killed actually on Rosh Hashanah, but they couldn't make the fast on Rosh Hashanah. So the fast was delayed to Gimel B'Tishrei. Yeah. Maybe things we started talking about the history of the Churban. Maybe we should just talk about this just a bit longer. So when the Nebuchadnezzar came in control, Yoshiyahu was the last of the kings he was a tzaddik. Yoshiyahu was a tzaddik, and he didn't listen. There was one mistake he made, which is he destroyed all the Avodah Zarah from Eretz Yisrael. He destroyed all the Avodah Zarah, and he thought he did. There was Avodah Zarah still hidden that he didn't know about. Then when Paro, the king of Mitzrayim, wanted to go and fight against Melech Ashur, he wanted to go and fight in the north, he had to pass through Eretz Yisrael. Like to go from Egypt to Syria, you have to go through Eretz Yisrael. So he asked Yoshiyahu permission to go through the land. And Yoshiyahu read the pasuk, it says in the Chukos, like, V'cherav lo yisa'avo ba'aretzachem. It says that the tools won't pass through your land. It says, and the Chazal Dash, and even Cherev Shel Shalom, even if they're going through just a peace to get through to the other side, if you keep the Torah, it won't happen. So he said to Paro, no, you can't go through. He was on good terms with Paro until then. And then Paro wasn't very happy, and he decided to go through anyway, and on the way he'll fight with Yoshiyahu. Yoshiyahu came to fight with him, and Yoshiyahu was killed by the arrows of the Egyptians. And his Avera was, he didn't ask Yirmiyahu. He should have contacted with Yirmiyahu. Yirmiyahu told him, and and Yirmiyahu wrote a kin about Yoshiyahu. Bent over. He heard Yoshiyahu whispering when as he was dying. He heard him whispering. He went over to hear. He thought, Chas v'shalom, maybe Yoshiyahu was saying kfir now. He was such a good king. Maybe he was saying kfir. He went close to Yoshiyahu and heard him saying, Tzaddik hu Hashem kipuhu marisi. Hashem is a tzaddik. Hashem is correct. His ways are correct. And I rebelled against Hashem by not listening to Yirmiyahu. And then he said the famous kinnah about Yoshiyahu. That's one of the kinnahs we say in Tisha B'Av. So then Yoshiyahu was killed. Yoshiyahu was followed by his son Yehoiakim. Yehoiakim was king, and from him onwards the kings were Rishayim. Yehoiakim was a Rasha, and he was then captured by Melech Bavel. He was killed by Melech Bavel. Melech Bavel, Nebuchadnezzar then placed his son Yehoiachin, who's now a grandson of Yoshiyahu, son of Yehoiakim as king. Yehoiachin, otherwise known as Yechoniah, was king for just 3 months. And then the officers of Nebuchadnezzar told him that why did he kill the father and put his son as king? It's not a very clever idea. He went back to Yerushalayim and took Yechoniah down to Bavel, together with many thousands of Jews. That's called Golus Yechoniah. Yehoiachin is the same person. That's when Mordechai went to Bavel. It says in the beginning of Megillas Esther that he went down with Imagoyla Asher Haglasayim Yechoniah Melech Yehuda. That was the first Golus. Then he placed, between Yoshiyahu and Yehoiakim, there's a different one of the kings a different one of the sons of Yoshiyahu was king for just 3 months. So then after Yechoniah, then Nebuchadnezzar made Matanya his uncle, meaning another son of Yoshiyahu. This is now the third son of Yoshiyahu to be king. He made Matanya the king, and he changed his name to Tzidkiah. This is Tzidkiah, and Tzidkiah was then king for 11 years until Nebuchadnezzar came back 11 years later and killed him and then destroyed the Beis HaMikdash. That's called Tzidkiah. And then he placed Gedaliah ben Achikam. So it's interesting. It's very, very interesting whether he was a tzaddik or not. It says in the pasuk in Melachim, Vayas hara b'nei Hashem. It says in the pasuk in Yirmiyahu, Vayas hara b'nei Hashem, and it says in the pasuk in Divrei Yomim, Vayas hara b'nei Hashem. All three pasukim say Vayas. If you read Tanakh, it sounds like he was a Rasha. The Torah only says bad things about him. He says Vayas hara b'nei Hashem. However, if you look in Chazal, there's two Chazal in two different places say he was a tzaddik. There's a Gemara in Shabbos Taf Kuf Mem Tes, and there's a Gemara in, I think it's more in Kotten Tes Zayin. It says that he was, both of them say that he was a tzaddik, and there's Rashi in a few places. It seems to be, the way I understand it, is that according to Chazal he was a tzaddik. The reason why he's called a Rosh is for two reasons. Number one, his dor were Rishonim. His whole generation were Rishonim. It could be he was called after the generation. The whole dor was Rishonim. That's why the Beit HaMikdash was destroyed. And the other thing was because he was criticized for not listening to Yirmiyahu. There was a case where he didn't listen to Yirmiyahu. But according to Chazal, he was a tzaddik. Okay, let's just finish. Have we got a minute to finish off? Or we should stop here. A minute to finish off. So the big tragedy of Gedalia, when Gedalia was killed, was not just because Gedalia was killed. It meant that everyone ran away. After Gedalia was killed, the governor that Nebuchadnezzar had placed in Yerushalayim was killed. Everyone was now really scared from the Bavliim, and they all ran down to Mitzrayim. So there was now no Jews left in Eretz Yisrael. They all ran away to Egypt. There were no Jews left in Eretz Yisrael. ועשור בטייבס וואן דנוסו בטייבס שבו יסומח מלך בו ונבוכדנצר על ירושלים נבוכדנצר ראש על ירושלים והביאו במוצר ומזה נמשך החורבן. עשור בטייבס is the last in the year is actually the first one. It's going back a few years. That's when Nebuchadnezzar placed the siege over Yerushalayim. That's when the whole thing started. We'll finish the sermon on tomorrow. Yeah. Too many political assassinations.
Wow. I wasn't expecting all that.